All right, good evening, everybody. It's 3:40 p.m. Post-market, August 7th. I'm here with Faisal. We're going to break down what happened in the U.S. stock market, cover maybe some currencies and bonds a little bit, but mostly the stock market. And I want to hear Faisal's thoughts on how today went, how this week went, and what we could be expecting for next week. So welcome.
Well, thank you for having me, man. As usual, I hope you're doing well.
Doing fantastic. So it was a heck of a week in the market, man. So you want to give us a breakdown of, things that happened today, and then we'll dive into, the overall week or your thoughts on the overall week.
Yeah, so the market did a well. When I say the market, I'm speaking in terms of the S&P. The S&P did something that was very key that you and I had talked about before, which was we had originally thought that the market would go up to the point of exactly that deep black line that you have, that gap,
Hmm.
where we first sold off as a result of the virus. We have now closed above that gap and we are closed above it. Like it is done. There's no more resistance at that point. But it's very strange at the time that we're kind of still close to it, even though we're above it. We're starting to see tech really sell off. If you look at stocks like that's a leader that I've been shorting. I was getting killed in it before, and then over the past 2 days, it's really just started to come down. What's another good one? Lavongo, LVGO, Fastly. All these stocks, they usually do not have these types of selling days. At least in the past, 3 months, they haven't had these types of down days, and it looks like they're all having it at the same time. I will say that a lot of my high growth leaders have not broken down yet. As you can see, a lot of them are at the low end of their daily range base. So it's a wait and see thing with the market so close to very key resistance, even though it's above it. The pull down from tech could end up bringing the market back below that gap price. And then we could have a problem. We could have some technical selling come in, probably more so in the tech sectors than in the value sectors, but I'll get to that. But yeah, that is an oncoming risk. And that's why I think tech probably has a little bit more to go to the downside. Actually, I think maybe another 10% or so, but tech's has been going up so much, it's 10% is really nothing. But once again, tech did bad today. So what ended up doing good? The value sectors, so banks, energy, came back from its lows, even though there were some bad earnings that came out.
Yeah,
Um,
nice pop today in the XLF.
oh yeah, it was a very good pop. You saw stocks like JP Morgan have really nice days. Morgan Stanley, I didn't even know how good of a company Morgan Stanley was. I rechecked the fundamentals again, and man, this stock is good. MS. Um, yeah, this stock is fundamentally very good. I will not be surprised if this stock goes up 8 to 9% over the next week and a half, and I'm probably looking to get into this stock as well as Citi and JP Morgan. So financials did really good, materials did really good, industrials were on fire. If you look at the rails, I had a really nice option call this week, just a short-term play on the industrial momentum that I saw. CSX, I think it went for like 350 percent. It was a really short-term trade, so that type of gain can happen. But once again, capitalizing on the entire rotation that I thought was going to happen, and it ended up. I think we have now started kind of the first wave of this rotation out of high growth and into more value sectors. How long this rotation will last is another mystery, because last time it lasted 2 weeks and then you saw the sell-off in value. But I think we may see a little bit more from the value side and a little bit more gains from the value sectors and a little bit more selling from the uh, tech and high growth sectors. So that's kind of my thoughts after seeing everything that happened this week. But overall, I mean, I think you got to be in value sectors going into next week. I think you have to have at least one, and definitely you should not be trying to pick up any tech stocks thinking that they've pulled back enough.
Yeah, fair point. I just wanted to show our viewers right now that your option calls on CSX, man, they yielded 377% of profit. That's massive. Um,
Yeah, no,
so
it's
kudos.
yeah, it's a good one, and I'm not like It's all about repetition, doing it again. Like I had another call this week. I bought CSX in City, and City ended up losing me like 67% or something like that. So, you have
Yeah.
good ones, you have bad ones, but it's all about whether or not the reason why I bought these short-term calls is because I had not had a good week last week, and I wanted to build up some personal momentum with these short-term trades, and just to see if my short-term formula was still working and doing well. That's the type of trade that I made, and you know, a lot of times it's luck, but it's also a good amount of skill to determine what sectors are going to go up and down. But last week I tried to play value and it didn't work out in my stocks, and this week I just played it in options and it ended up working out. But that's just the way it goes. I ended up being close to those city calls. Like, had I bought a strike lower for maybe like 9 more cents, it would have been in the money easily because they closed above the strike price. I just ended up selling them a little bit too early.
Good.
That's just the
Gotcha.
way it goes. But overall, it was a pretty successful week on all fronts.
That's great to hear. I think for those who are watching again, as we stated before, Faisal and I do trade the equity markets as well as crypto. I like having Faisal to bounce ideas off of whenever we do discuss the equity markets. So this is why we have these calls on Wednesdays and Fridays and Sundays, and then of course Faisal and his equities channels, he puts out updates every single morning, every single evening of what's happening in the market, and then of course what stocks he's trading through the day as well as options. Um, I was actually I'm still in a Beyond Meat call option for September 4th. All of these, August 14th and 21st, they yield a good amount of money for me. The September 4th option is still in the money. I think. Let me check Beyond. I swear last I checked, I think. Oh no, this one's slightly outside the money right now, but so far so good because I think we got in like way the heck down here around 123, 124. So all is well on that front.
Yeah,
Um,
that's good. But how has the implied volatility reacted? Because they did have earnings this week, and usually after you have the earnings date, come and go, the options on no matter what you have, what date you have, probably are affected by the drop in implied volatility.
yeah, well, so I sold out. I sold out the 14th and the 21st, um, well before the earnings call, which was like I
Hmm.
think basically this day, and the earnings call was basically the evening after this big day that we had. I think the last I checked, which was earlier today, for the September 4th call, this pricing right here was when Beyond was at like 136, and earlier today I checked, it was like I don't know, maybe 40% up. So doing all right, not too bad. I still have
That's good.
almost till September 4th. So we're not too far away from the strike anyway, and pretty long dated. Almost a month to go in the option.
Yeah, no, and I like the stock too. I think they put out a good report, even though the reaction was bad. My main goal for that stock is as long as you can increase your adoption rate, because I think with this type of product, having the population become accustomed to it and fully adopt this as a meat substitute, I think is the most important thing at this stage for the company. And keep in mind, they're profitable. They're not like a super high growth company. I keep seeing a lot of analysts say that this stock is so over expensive, but then they'll upgrade a stock like COUPA, which is astronomically expensive, and give it another like 50, 75 point price hike. So,
It
I
seems
would.
like it seems like that the trend lately has been, I mean, whether it's tech, software, cloud, all these things, they just keep getting upgrades or they keep getting higher price targets. That's the name of the game lately. It's just tech, right? Doesn't matter how much value or how unique your company could be. Say something like Beyond, which could, in my opinion, be one of the coronavirus advantage stocks. It doesn't matter. All people are looking for, all analysts are looking for, is tech.
Yeah, no, I think that in the end, that's the trade that's been working so well. I will say, I'm like, since I'm on the short side, I don't think it's going to work out anymore. I think this triple top that you see in Coop is definitely an indicator of more pain to come, but that's just my opinion. But in relation to Beyond Meat, I think that there's an opportunity to see money move out of these high growth tech cybersecurity stocks and into the high growth names like Beyond Meat. Beyond Meat is still a high growth company, even though it's not a tech company. I mean, it kind of doesn't matter whether or not it's performed with the majority of high growth, which ends up being tech. I think at some point, just like biotech, you're going to see a certain segment of high growth assets outperform because exactly like you said, they have a clear advantage in the corona environment, and they aren't like super overextended. They aren't technically oversaturated.
Right. Yeah. Um, the other thing I want to talk about is, we've been so extended in the market. You and I have been talking about tech being so far overextended. We saw we saw gold, silver rally, and then this morning with the NFP numbers, the dollar popped a good amount too. It had a nice, strong, bullish engulfing candle. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Like, do you think that this could potentially, lead the market down because the tech carries so much weight now on their respective indices? So do you think that you're seeing the deteriorating signs in tech, or do you think that, well, maybe it's a little bit too early?
Well, I'll definitely be honest. They're like I said before, my leaders have not broken down. Like there may have been 2 bad days yesterday, and definitely today was a terrible day. But like
What
I'm
what
not
are
ready to say that
what
I'm.
are some of the what are some of the tickers for the leaders that I could pick up?
Like you could look at so when I say leaders and I say tech leaders, it's usually a couple stocks that are industry separated by the industry. So you could say Apple, Amazon, Tesla for big tech, or Microsoft. For like high growth stocks, you could do COUPA, you could do OKTA, Livongo, Fastly are kind of new additions. Twilio has been around for a while. And then you could also do the non-tech high growth leaders. Like I think Beyond Meat is a high growth leader as well. Biotech in general, I just look at IBB is a high growth industry. So I watch a lot of these different things, and when they start to break down,
Fast, I think you got cut out. Oh, it looks like we're having some technical difficulty, folks. Um, to continue on the conversation, I think what Faisal was
for
referring to is,
Shopify,
oh, there you
they've
go.
held up.
You're back. You cut out for a second.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, but for the most part, the leaders have not broken down. So even though today was an ugly day, and I think more pain is to come, I'm definitely not going to say I'm 100% right yet, because there's still a chance that this market, as it closed that gap, tech could end up consolidating here. It doesn't have to see momentum, but it could definitely consolidate, as well as the dollar. I actually don't think the dollar is going to spike, bounce right back. I think it's going to consolidate, probably under $94.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the dollar, the one level that I've been talking about is 91. We're kind of in this sort of no man's land between 93.81, which was previous support, kind of rejecting that area, but not fully rejecting it because we hit it once, dropped down, and then we're coming back up again today. So it could be one of your typical like double or not double bottoms, or something like a W bottom that you get something like that, and we could pop off. But I'm not ready to call it just yet and just say that, all right, the dollar's ready to pop, because kind of like you said about tech, there might be a little bit more waiting to be seen.
Yeah, totally agree. This is just the first day of evidence, and while it points to the direction that I think we're both assuming, there hasn't been enough evidence collected. Like we definitely have to wait probably Monday and probably Tuesday to make a good, confirming direction.
Yeah, I mean, I want to see like a good bloody week. Like
Yeah, me too. I want to see the selling like come in for more than a day or 2 days at most. Like I want to see it come in for like 3, 4, 5 days. Get everyone
yeah.
scared.
I mean, we haven't had that basically since, the March drop, right? I think we've had maybe 2 or 3 consecutive days of, downside momentum, and then it gets picked back up. I think this right here is 2 separate weeks. So it's like, okay, you drop a little bit, pop up a little bit, and then drop some more the next week. But then again, it gets popped back up. So it's
Yeah,
like we haven't seen Well, let me check out the weekly, right? Let's see if we've seen any bad week. I guess this one right here, which was the one that I was just pointing to. But again, following candle buys up, comes back down again, gets bought back up.
Yeah, and I remember that week too. That was literally just one day that was bad. I think we
Yeah,
went down 1,700 points that day and then never looked back. I remember saying that the fundamentals of the market had changed and all this stuff, and I totally ended up being wrong. Like I was like, okay, prepare for some downside volatility, and it just never ended up coming. It consolidated at that lower range. So, we could get something like that. That's totally in the possibility where it's just this kind of small flash crash, and then we end up consolidating near the lows, and that's it. We get all the pullback in 1 or 2 days.
yeah. I was just actually going to mention that, it's interesting how when we look at markets, when we see, say a day or two or something of that confirms our bias in the directional bias that we have based on our positions, we get overly excited. And obviously we're all guilty of it, right? Any trader who's actually traded for long enough, we all have that because that's just how the human emotions work. I think what's interesting about that is, it's almost that arrogant feeling that you have when you feel so overconfident one side. That's the exact time where the market completely screws you and goes to the other side. And to add on to that, I was reading on Twitter this week about how, yes, things look bullish and, we continuously keep on going up and, all pullbacks are bought up. But I was reading that the short interest this week and the whole bear scene has been extremely quiet. So it's like, I think to myself, wait a second, this is really, the kind of dynamics that I want for a short position where bulls are so confident in their positioning that everything gets bought up. And even the bears are like, all right, I'm, done shorting this shit because I'm tired of losing money. Let's just hop in long. And I feel like that's the perfect time where, the market strikes everyone.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you, and I think that's what we're seeing in tech. Tech was coming into this week, and it probably still is by the end of today, the most overcrowded trade. And I think those are exactly where the bulls are throwing or the bears are throwing in the towel, and the bulls feel like nothing can stop them. Like honestly, there was a time where I felt like Apple is going to go up every single day. Um, Up until like a couple of days ago when it didn't end up going up. But there was that feeling where I was like, oh my gosh, I feel so sad for someone betting against Apple. And then here I am, I'm betting against XLK and Apple's like the biggest holding. So, it was really just, it was that feeling too. And that's why I held on to my short. Um, but you're exactly correct. I will say that just because there's this feeling in the market, don't let it keep you away from other investments. That's why I think healthcare, I've been saying it for so long, but like healthcare is still the best sector to be in if you're looking at value and growth. And then, like I've been saying earlier, financials, industrials, I think broad materials have an opportunity. And then I think housing, I don't know about housing. I'm a little bit mixed because I feel like housing is one of those sectors where it just feels like it'll keep going up because the short-term numbers are so good. But that's a wait and see type deal. But for the most part, you should still be trying to find value in this market because it's there. Especially if the V shape, if you're a person that feels like the economy will recover very fast, then you're going to see the rotation out of the high growth safety assets, like the software and tech sector that have been viewed as the safe trades, and back into the more beaten down sectors, whether it's the airlines. I think there's some value in like Southwest, or maybe even the cruises. I haven't checked them out, but Royal Caribbean has always been my favorite cruise. Fundamentally speaking, they could see some real good momentum, but definitely industrials and financials. And then I really think energy. I know so many people hate on energy, but I think you'll be surprised over the next 2 weeks.
What do you think about gold and silver? Because it's been one of the hot topics and hot trades over the last at least good 2 weeks.
God. I hate that I'm shorting silver, but like, it's a terrible thing. It's one of the worst trades to be in, honestly, in my opinion. And I'm sad that I'm in it. Like at this point in time, I've had to move up my profit taking base. I'm no longer expected to make profit. I'm probably going to lose money, just hopefully not as much as if I covered it now. I think these commodities are due in for a pullback, just technically speaking. Um, so I think they can pull back maybe like a good 7-8%, but the fundamental picture, especially on gold, is just so it just makes so much sense that I cannot see these assets pulling back for long. Like when they do pull back, and maybe a couple of days before they end up going back up again. So I'm definitely medium long term bullish on these assets, but short term I expect to pull back.
Yeah, I'm kind of right there with you. I think parabolic movements like this, especially in metals, when they do have pullbacks, because of the macro environment, we're in with the whole Fed printing going on and precious metals and commodities rallying, I think the pullbacks are very short and fleeting. Like they get bought up pretty fast. Because, I think, what was it, last week or 2 weeks ago, GLD was one of the top tickers being picked up by Robinhood traders, So it's like, okay, well, you already have, big traders who've been in these positions, other, asset managers who are probably hedging equities, for risk or just, side plays. And then now you have the pylon of the retail and Robinhood traders. So it's like these assets are just probably just going to, keep going up further and further because the deterioration of the dollar, whatever argument that you want to buy into, is going to feed into this mania. Now, I'm not saying that it's necessarily that the whole dollar crashing argument that is feeding into gold and silver popping, but it effectively is one of the arguments that is, fueling that fire.
For sure, and it's a logical argument. Like, I totally agree. If you're someone who buys gold or silver with that reason, like that's a perfectly fine reason to buy it, and more importantly, hold on to it beyond the short term. So, I agree with you. Like the pullbacks are going to be bought very, very fast, in my opinion, because I don't know. I think the people who are selling it, they may be selling it for technical purposes and looking to re-enter at a lower price. I don't think the long-term believers like are going to be fearful even if the asset price drops 20-30%. Like I think people will hold on to this type of asset. So I think that's very good for its medium to long-term perspectives.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you there. Just to play devil's advocate, I think on this call earlier, I was talking about the Dixie right here. We're kind of in this no man's land, and I personally think that if we can't climb up above this 93.81 level, I don't see why we can't drop down further to this 91 level. And if that's the case, that gives further credence for things like Bitcoin and gold and silver to rally up further, right? So that buys us enough time. And I would probably say the same goes for equities as well. That gives us that breathing room that the dollar is breaking down and people are probably looking for yield in other places, like equities.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So any thoughts going into the week ahead? What should our viewers be looking forward to?
So, well, definitely a stock that I want everyone to keep an eye on. If you guys followed me on Discord, I was buying EverQuote, EVER. It's a company that I talked about a little bit in Sunday's video, and I
You
did
talked
not.
about it yesterday too, right? I think, yeah, I think you talked about it in yesterday's video right here.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, you are correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And anyway, go on. Faisal, I think your mic gave out again. Okay, so, oh, there you go. Yeah, you're back.
Oh, I'm so sorry. One of the things that I'm seeing, and the reason why I'm saying to pay attention to this stock, and hell, I'm so glad that I was buying this pretty heavily at the low. Insurance companies showed, I think, probably the best momentum today, which is surprising because you obviously don't hear about them. But check out TRV, which is the biggest insurance company Travelers holding. They were up quite significantly today. They were up, I think, 3% or so today. And then you also check out MetLife, Allstate. There was a lot of unity in that momentum. And then another thing that was very interesting was a stock like EverQuote, which is a very high growth company. It was actually up 7% today, whereas the entire high growth stocks and a lot of the stocks that it normally trades with were actually down, 7-8%, like COUPA was down 7% or something like that. So it really bucked the trend in terms of following what I thought was its kind of industry. I thought it was more of a high growth stock than an insurance stock. But it seems to me like it's going to be following the insurance companies. And I think based on what I saw today, they were the best subsector within the financials. They were better than the big banks. They were better than the small banks and a lot of the money centers. So insurance companies, I think, are going to do exceptionally well this week. And I think Travelers is a pretty good buy. I've mentioned Allstate as a fundamentally very good company. We talked about Progressive, PGR, or PRG, one of those two. I forgot what it was. Maybe PGR. Yeah, it was PGR. PGR is still near its highs. So we kind of glossed over this golden age of insurance as people don't go out as much and there aren't as many accidents. But anyways, EverQuote is the disruptor in the space. And I think the fact that it came down 25-30%, it was like, I think it was a once in a year type buying opportunity. And I think it'll continue to go up from here at a very high rate, especially if it starts to follow the momentum of the value sectors, especially the insurance companies. You're going to see this stock, like, I won't be surprised if when we do this video next week, this stock is up 10 to 15% off the week. So keep an eye out on this one. That's an industry and definitely a stock that I'm personally in and that I'm watching. I would also take a look at what else did very good. We talked about oil. I'm in a couple oil options for the next couple weeks. So I really expect oil to surprise people. I think there are so many people that have given up on the sector, especially after the earnings were just disastrous. I think that's more than enough reason for people to dump everything and try and go for a trade like tech at the wrong time when it seems like the upcoming trend is going to be a rotation out of high growth and into these value sectors. And even though it doesn't make sense, even though you could say that demand may never get back to pre-COVID levels or even 75% of pre-COVID levels, the cuts in supply as well as the increased bankruptcies will end up helping the overall winners. And I touched about that on my video, I think Thursday or Wednesday. So I expect these stocks to rally with the financials, probably a good 10 to 15% over the next 2 to 3 weeks. So definitely keep an eye out for those.
Okay, perfect. Well, if there's no other points, we can wrap it up here and get on with our Fridays.
All right. Yeah, I'm good. Let me think. Is there any upcoming earnings? I don't think I have any of them in mind. No, but I think I'm good.
All right, perfect, Faisal. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Again, for those of you who are watching our videos, hit the thumbs up, hit subscribe, leave us a comment about your thoughts, and also join our Discord channel, either free or the paid side. The paid side allows you access to all these locked channels, whether you want to watch Faisal's analysis, read about the trades that he's taking. Again, we can't provide financial advice, but we can show you exactly what we're trading on a day-to-day basis. So until then, we'll catch up with y'all Sunday, and good luck. Cheers.
Peace.